They were standing too close. He didn't know I was home yet. And she, Elena, was laughing in that low, sultry way that never sat right with me. His hand brushed against her waist, and she didn't flinch. Instead, she leaned in. Just a little. Just enough. That was the moment I knew. My heart didn't break. It twisted. Not because of what I saw, but because of what I felt watching it. To everyone listening, thank you. Your support, your comments, your honesty, it's what gives me the courage to sit here and share my truth. This isn't easy. It's not just a story. It's my life. A messy, beautiful, painful chapter one never imagined I'd live. But I believe in telling it honestly, as it happened, because I know I'm not the only woman who's felt this way. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there needs to hear this. So here it goes. I'm Claire. I'm a white American woman, 38 years old, born and raised in Georgia. I've got a soft southern drawl when I'm tired or wine drunk, and I married Mark when I was just 23. We've been together 15 years. 15 years of routines, memories, and quiet Sunday mornings. Mark's the kind of man who makes you feel safe. Tall, blue-eyed, with the kind of voice that could calm a storm. He's a contractor, builds houses, fixes things. Knows how to use his hands. I used to love watching him work in the backyard with his shirt off and sweat running down his neck. But somewhere along the years, things shifted. I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe it was after the miscarriage. Maybe it was when my mother passed. Or maybe it was just life, the way it slowly wears things down like wind against stone. You don't notice it until the cracks are too wide to ignore. We stopped talking as much. We stopped touching as much. He still kissed my forehead every morning before work, still texted me to ask if I needed anything from the store. But I knew, deep down, I was losing him. And the worst part? I didn't know how to stop it. That's when she came. Elena. Our new maid. I'd hired her through an agency a friend recommended. Said she was quiet, hardworking, and needed the job badly. I didn't ask too many questions, I just needed help keeping the house in order. Mark was busy, I was tired, and frankly, I thought it would give me more time to focus on myself. Maybe even rekindle something with him. But Elena was not what I expected. She was 26, Latina, with long jet black hair that fell over her shoulders like silk. Her body, God, her body, was something straight out of a music video. Curves in all the places I used to have when I was younger. A full, round backside that made every pair of jeans look custom made. And a way of walking that made the air feel thicker when she passed. She was polite. Sweet, even. But there was something about her. Something that made me uncomfortable. Not because she did anything wrong. But because Mark noticed her. I saw it in the way he looked at her. At first, I told myself I was being paranoid. Insecure. That it was me, not them. But women know. We feel these things before we see them. Before they turn into proof. It started small. Mark began coming home earlier than usual. He'd ask about her, how she was doing, how her day went. I caught him smiling at her a little too long one afternoon when she bent down to pick up a laundry basket. That smile, the kind he hadn't given me in months. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was imagining it. But the silence between me and Mark was louder than ever. One night, I asked him if he thought Elena was pretty. He laughed, told me not to be ridiculous. Said she was just a kid trying to make a living. He even pulled me into a hug and kissed my cheek. But that hug, it didn't feel warm. It felt like a man trying to distract a woman from asking the right questions. I started watching. Not out of obsession, but out of survival. I needed to know. I needed to protect what was mine. One afternoon, I came home early from visiting my sister. I didn't tell anyone. I parked down the street, walked in through the back. The house was quiet, Too quiet for a day Elena was supposed to be cleaning. Then I heard it. Laughter. Low. Intimate. Coming from the kitchen. I moved carefully. My heart thudding in my chest like it knew something I didn't want to admit. I peeked around the corner and saw them. Mark was standing close to her, too close. He reached out, brushed a strand of hair from her face. And she didn't move. She smiled. Softly. Then he laughed, like a man who had forgotten what guilt felt like. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked upstairs like I'd seen nothing at all. That night, I didn't sleep. Mark acted like everything was normal. He held me in bed like he always did. But I lay there, eyes wide open, wondering who he was when I wasn't looking. Wondering who I had become, watching the man I loved slowly disappear into someone else's smile. And Elena. She smiled at me the next morning, like nothing happened. Wore that same tight t-shirt. That same confidence. That same scent of warm vanilla and danger. I wasn't sure what was worse, Mark's silence, or Elena's innocence. And here's the hardest part to admit. A part of me didn't just feel jealous. A part of me felt curious. Curious about why Mark looked at her that way. Curious about what made her magnetic. Curious about the woman I used to be, and the woman she had become. I didn't hate her. Not yet. But I was starting to hate what she made me feel about myself. So I watched. Every day, a little more. Until the day I found the letter. Tucked inside Mark's work jacket. Just a few words, written in a woman's handwriting. Thanks for today. You make me feel seen. No name. No date. No signature. But I knew. God help me, I knew. The letter. 6 simple words. Thanks for today. You make me feel seen. It didn't have a name. No lipstick kiss, no perfume scent. But it might as well have been carved into my skin. Because I knew it wasn't from a coworker. I knew it wasn't from a friend. It was from her. Elena. It had to be. I sat with that letter for hours. I read it like it was scripture. I memorized every curve of the handwriting, like it could tell me something deeper than what was written. Seen. That word hit harder than any other. Because I hadn't felt seen in years. Not by Mark. Not even by myself. I didn't confront him that night. I couldn't. Instead, I sat across from him at dinner. I watched the way his mouth moved when he chewed. I studied the lines forming near his eyes. I listened to him talk about work like nothing had changed. And the silence between us? It was loud. Deafening. Like the sound right before a glass breaks. 3 days later, I finally asked him. We were in bed. Lights off. That weird in-between time when your body wants to sleep but your soul won't let you. I said, do you love me? Just like that. No context. No warning. He didn't answer at first. Just exhaled. Then he said, what kind of question is that? But I knew that was an answer in itself. I didn't push. I didn't cry. I just turned my back to him and stared at the wall until the sun came up. That morning, I watched him get dressed. The way he fixed his collar. The way he looked at himself in the mirror. And I wondered, who was he trying to look good for now? It happened on a Thursday. I stayed home from work. Told Mark I wasn't feeling well. He didn't ask questions. Elena arrived around 11 a.m. like she always did. She wore a fitted black dress that clung to her like a second skin. Her hair was pulled up, neck exposed, earrings catching the light every time she moved. I watched her from the kitchen window as she watered the plants on the porch. Calm. Innocent. Like she hadn't stolen something from me without ever laying a finger on it. I didn't plan it. But when she came inside, wiping her hands on a towel, I looked at her and said, we need to talk. She froze for half a second. Then nodded. Okay. I gestured for her to sit at the kitchen table. There was no screaming. No cursing. Just silence. And two women with too many things unsaid. I slid the note across the table. Her eyes didn't widen. She didn't deny it. She just said, "You weren't supposed to see that." "How long?" I asked. She looked at her hands. Took a breath. "Nothing physical happened," she said. "But it got close. Too close. I could have slapped her. I could have screamed. But instead, I asked the question I never thought I'd ask. Why?" Her answer? Not what I expected. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Because he looks at me like I matter. Like I'm more than just the help. Like I'm alive." I felt my chest tighten. Not out of anger, but out of recognition. Because I used to feel that way with Mark too. She continued, "But I swear to you, Claire, I didn't mean to fall for him. It just happened. One moment we were talking about music, and the next, we were talking about things we don't tell other people." Tears welled in her eyes. I should have hated her. But I didn't. Because in that moment, I realized, we were both women longing to be seen. Mark came home early that day. I was sitting at the kitchen table, still, like I'd become part of the furniture. He walked in, saw Elena, saw my face. He didn't speak. I stood up and handed him the letter. He read it. Slowly. Carefully. Then folded it and put it in his pocket. I said, "You have one chance to tell me the truth. Don't lie. I'll know." He looked at Elena, then at me. And then he said it. I was lonely. That broke me more than if he had said he'd fallen in love with her. "I never stopped loving you," he added. "But we stopped talking. We stopped touching. You were grieving. And I didn't know how to reach you anymore." I remember whispering, "So you reached for her?" He didn't answer. Because he didn't have to. Elena quit that night. Left the house quietly. No goodbye. I stood in the doorway, watching her walk down the street in the fading sunset. Her figure shrinking, disappearing into the world again like she was never here. Mark tried to hold me. But I didn't let him. Not yet. What came next wasn't easy. Therapy. Long talks. Nights where we slept apart. And one night, 2 weeks later, I stood in front of the mirror and saw myself clearly for the first time in years. I wasn't the same woman I used to be. And maybe, that wasn't a bad thing. I started taking care of me. Reading again. Painting. Going out with friends. Smiling, not because I had to, but because I meant it. And slowly, Mark came back. Not with flowers or grand gestures. But with honesty. And time. And listening. We're still working on it. We still fight. But now, we also talk. So what did I learn? That betrayal doesn't always come from lust. Sometimes it comes from loneliness. From silence. From the spaces we forget to fill with love. And Elena? She wasn't just a maid. She was a mirror. She showed me the parts of myself I left unattended. If you're still listening, thank you. I told you this story would be messy. And real. And maybe even uncomfortable. But it's mine. And I'm grateful I got to share it with you. So many women are taught to suffer quietly. To pretend. To smile through the silence. But not anymore. Let's keep talking. Let's keep healing. Let's keep being honest. And if you've ever loved, lost, or had to learn how to love yourself again, this one was for you.